Hello and welcome to the TCS podcast, where we're dedicated to helping you achieve extraordinary growth and success to create a lasting impact on your families, communities, and companies. Look at what we got here. Finally, after all this time, we're twinning. We're twinning. This is nice gear, by the way. Thank you. But we got the boss here who started it all. Gonna wrap 2025 up today and look to 2026. But it's been a hard time trying to get you in here. You been busy?
Been a little busy.
It's been a little busy.
Busy, bud. Yeah.
What's been fun about 2025? Like, what is going on? Just to update everybody, because some people look at you and go like, "Oh, it must be nice to be Brian," but I don't see you very often floating around here. You're off doing this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, I think 2025 for a lot of people was a more challenging year. I mean, what was fun is that we persevered. We still ended up in a great scenario for the year, and whenever you do that, you learn a lot. I feel like 2025 for a lot of people, not just us, was a year of, I call it a year of investment. It's like you go through a lot. You fight through a lot. For us, we implemented some major new systems in 2025 at the Pavement Group, which was, a huge undertaking. We gained a ton of new clients. On the top contractor school side, we've got more new offers than we ever had. We added you as a president. One Team Media is at a place that's better than it ever has been. Tons of new staff there, just
good staff,
the most talented people, man. And, it feels good. I can tell you, there's been a lot of times at the end of this year that I was like, holy shit, am I exhausted? I'm exhausted. But that's what it takes. It's exhausting to be great, as Jim Tressel says. And, it's one of those, years where I think we'll look back at it with a lot of admiration. Down the road, it doesn't feel like that sometimes in the moment. There's a lot of roller coasters that you ride throughout a year, but everything that happened that was a negative, we were able to overcome, fill the void, do a great job, come together as a team. I feel, and I really feel like this, not just for myself, but for every person that works here and we interact with. Like, I just feel like people get so much out of a tough year that people don't talk about enough. Like, it's almost like a subconscious, like they don't even realize that they learned that much in those years. But that is, it's a mindset developer of a year. It's like you're either going to break or you're going to build, right? And, for us, I feel like we really built a lot this year. And it's positioned us for an incredible 2026.
Now, you have communicated that. So me being on here now, like, I get to see a lot of the stuff that goes on. And you and Mike have really pounded the drum with that. Like, hey, guys, we're down here, or this is where we're struggling. But look at this. Like, here's where we're at. And I think that's important because I noticed that especially like some of our contractors, when they're not out in front and communicating a lot of those things, people are just left to think what they might, right? And you're saying, hey, look, we're building. This is what's going to happen. It's not, we're doing well, but it's that constant communication that I heard at least every Monday from the two of you and from the directors and the leaders in this company. Were there any specific highlights?
Oh man, so I mean, more than I could list. I mean, just usually the highlights are around people. It's like people that come in and make a difference, and people that come in and change something, or the people that you've had like go through this like renewal process. That's like, man, what happened with this person that they became like this great? Almost like a switch flipped.
Yeah, we got a couple of those.
And they became like, man, just like everything that you hoped they would be in such a short period of time. If I go back to January of last year, I mean, we had Jordan Peterson as a speaker at the Top Contractor School. Ended up going to London to an event that Jordan was part of. the relationship piece of it is really the biggest. I mean, I just sent a message the other night to Christian Kuntz, and we host the podcast in here, and the people have come through here, man. I mean, there's like it literally, and this sounds crazy to even say, but it feels like there's a Hall of Famer in here every week, when sometimes multiple a week. And I sent him a message and just said, like, dude, I just want you to know, like, these moments that we get to spend with these guys, they're never lost on me. Like, It's not like I walk away and go like, oh, it's just another, world-class human being that's like, walking through here that I get to spend time with. And I think that's what shapes us, man. Like, getting to spend that time and getting to, talk to them about what it is. And you know what I've learned? Like, all of these NFL athletes that come in here, the most elite, they got the same damn traits that people in business have that are winning.
Good point. Yep.
And I said that to DK Metcalf, who was in last week. He said something about, man, this guy is different. Like, the way that he operates is different. And I said, dude, I've yet to meet a centimillionaire that wasn't different. Like, the way that they operate is different, or a billionaire, they're different. And so, I think that people are always the highlight, the relationships that you get to build, the new friendships that you have. And that's really what fuels the fire. It's like, if we were just doing this for ourselves, we've done plenty to be able to be good for a long time. Like, we're not doing it just for ourselves. We're doing it to create something that has a legacy, that supplies jobs and opportunity to a lot of people, that, brings people into a culture that they can really enjoy coming to work every day. And for me, that's what it is. Those are the highlights. It's like, we made it further this year than we ever have in that capacity. I feel like, in times of difficulty, the team bonds in a different way. And those are the highlights for me. It's, watching, Eli had his first baby. We've had people buy their first homes this year. All of those life highlights. You're becoming a grandfather for the first time. It's those things that stand out. Business is business. Numbers are numbers. You end up with a net profit at the end of the year, and you go after it again. But you can't miss the life moments that happen throughout that really, will be the things that you remember forever.
Yeah. What do you think, like, if I pose this question to you, what do you think that we did this year we need to double down on next year?
Well, I'll tell you the drum I've been beating for the last couple of weeks, and that is it's getting more disciplined. It's like, because I feel this is how I really feel about discipline. People talk about it all the time, and people talk about what time you got to wake up in the morning and being organized and working out and, all of those things. But discipline is the great secret to everything. The more disciplined you are, the easier the job gets. The less disciplined you are, the more difficult the job gets. And I think people overlook that. I think they think like, oh man, it feels like I'm overworked, or it feels like I'm overwhelmed, or it feels like, and so I always ask those people, go back to your discipline. Like, what are you doing every day? What's your routine? How are you approaching this from a systematic standpoint? Because this game that we play every day, it's very simple. It's, the number of proposals we put out, what is the average size of those proposals? What is your close rate? And there's a lot of details that go into that. Like, you can't get opportunities or put out proposals if you don't have the customers or prospects to do that with. You can't have the right average job size if you're not prospecting with intention and you understand the ideal client that you're trying to sell to. And you certainly can't close at a high percentage if you're not providing great details and good information and a great experience with people and accurate pricing, right? It has to, all of those boxes have to be checked for you to be able to do that. But the game is won and lost. Those three things are the trenches in construction, and in most businesses for that matter. But in construction, those three things are the trenches. And if you win the game in the trenches, at the end of the year, you're going to look back and say, like, damn, man, that was pretty cool. And it wasn't as difficult as I would have thought it was going to be. And I think most people don't have that experience because they aren't disciplined. They go up and down in discipline, and then discipline fractionalizes your potential. If you are 80% disciplined, you're going to get 80% of the potential that you have or the results that you should get. If you're 50% or if you're a train wreck, like just imagine what it does to you. You end up working harder than people who are just disciplined every day. And, I think I could do better with that 2026. And my goal here is to make sure that everybody else feels that way too. It's like, how are we actually showing up every day? And how are we going to, make sure that we're getting the most out of our potential in a given day, week, month, and year?
Yeah, and I think, rolling into that is kind of just another question, especially for our contractors. I mean, we've done life together for another year. Mm-hmm. The ones that show up, we've had we added an online capacity now that we did over the summer. We did a meetup out in California. We're getting ready for another one this winter, and we had some pretty powerful intellectual and emotional inner circle calls the past couple weeks, and we've got some texts. I sent you the one. It's like my brain hurts after this. Like getting them to think outside of just what they're doing, whether it's putting roofs on, putting a floor in, laying asphalt, putting concrete. Like to think about that. What would you say? And I know this might be a difficult question to kind of sum up, but like what mind shift do we need to make as a community, collectively together, to run into 2026?
First thing that comes to mind, man, is like, let me answer it two ways. Number one, the first thing that I would say is that people get, wrapped around the axle about how they feel in a moment. And it's going to be okay, no matter what you're going through. And we always, I've been doing this for a long time, listening to contractors in December. And it's like Groundhog Day, Everybody's overwhelmed. Everybody's tired. There's a reason why we have the holiday season. Everybody gets an opportunity to kind of recharge, reflect, and figure it out. But I think the biggest thing that I realized that I need to do going into 2026 is like, there's a faith piece to this. And, if you believe in a higher power, then faith means exactly what it means to me. If it doesn't, it just means you got to believe. Like, you got to believe that everything's going to be okay. And I think that people get worked up in those moments, and they get really distracted by momentary issues.
Yeah.
And that is what sends cultures and visions and accomplishments sideways. And you got to realize that, like, those problems are going to come and go. The vision doesn't change. And I think for a lot of people, they allow the vision to be altered by that. And I've realized that, like, my role in these companies has shifted a lot.
Yeah.
And I can sit back and look and realize where I'm missed. Meaning, my vision, my energy, my motivation, my inspiration. And so for all of you that are watching, you should look at that inside of your own companies, because, it feels good to be missed, but it's not good to be missed, if that makes sense. If you are missed in a place, it is costing you money. It's costing other people money. It's probably costing you and other people some peace in their lives. Mm-hmm. And so, you got to figure out how to do that. One of the things that I just said on our executive call this morning is I am going to meet with less people next year. I cannot take every meeting and say yes to everything and be able to be successful with the people that I need to talk to. And so there's a list of people that I'm going to talk to, and there's a whole bunch of people that I'm going to say no to. And I'm going to hopefully be able to grab some people from our organizations and pass some of those relationships off. It's like, instead of them meeting with me, they can meet with somebody else on our team and get to know what we're doing here through somebody else. And I think that's important. It's like, we all have families, we all have responsibilities, we all have, dynamics going on in our lives that make a huge difference. And if we get that straight in our lives, the amount of profit and the amount of momentum that we can create in a short period of time it'll make your company unrecognizable. But you have, as the leader, you have to look and figure out, where do I need to be? Where are people missing me? And what is the result of that? And fix it.
Yeah, and I think you're not like we hear that from a lot of the contractors. Just, once they hit a certain spot, like, and they don't want to let go of some things. I think one of the things they need to learn, we always talk about, is learning to delegate and who you delegate to, and finding the right leadership and things like that. There are other people out there that can do it, and might be able to do it actually better than us. Like once we hand it off, it's just that fear of handing it off.
Yeah, many times. And the only way a company scales is to have other people,
Yeah.
Doing that stuff. You can't, there's only a certain amount that can go through a conduit. If you got a 3-inch water pipe, there's only a certain number of gallons per minute that are going to go through a 3-inch water pipe. And you're no different. There's only so much it can go through a person before you experience burnout and overwhelm, or you lose your love of the game. If you work too hard and you don't have any balance, or you don't delegate things, you end up, the money ends up not being worth it for what you have to sacrifice to get it. And that's the worst case scenario for a leader.
Yeah. So a couple things to be more intentional about 2026 that I've heard. One, doing the uncomfortable work you've delayed, saying no more often, and then removing yourself from a role you've outgrown. I mean, you've spoke to that. Do you want to speak any more to those things? Because those are the things that we've heard from our contractors where they need to grow, especially the uncomfortable stuff. We have those conversations with the coaching calls all the time.
I think it goes beyond uncomfortable. I think it's just the stuff you don't want to do for whether it's uncomfortable or something you don't want to do. It reminds me of the Jordan Peterson quote, conflict delayed is conflict multiplied. Mm-hmm. The stuff that you are waiting to do, delaying to do, that needs to be done, you either got to delegate it, get it done, because your subconscious is constantly trying to remember to do all these things that are on your list, and it slows you down more than you can realize. You just got to get it done, man. You got to buckle down and get it done, and when you do, you feel better about it. And I think saying no is something that's really hard. And the more heart-centered a leader is, the harder it is to say no, because you want to be able to serve everybody, but you just can't. And you got to realize that, there's going to be seasons of your life that you go through. And I didn't have that problem 8 years ago. Yeah. But yet 8 years ago, I thought I was very busy. And when I look back, I think, like, dude, I would do anything to have that schedule again for a week or 2 weeks. Like, it would be like a part-time job.
You'd have naps,
right?
You have
I'd have so much bandwidth, but that's the cool thing. I always compare it to juggling. It's like if you're trying to juggle, you don't just pick up 4 or 5 bowling pins and try to figure out how to juggle, or 4 or 5 balls and figure out how to juggle. 1, 2, 3, and eventually people are like, how the hell do you juggle 7 things? And it's like, well, you teach yourself over time. You make mistakes. You figure out how to say no. You figure out what works, what doesn't work. And that's probably the coolest thing about getting old, getting older, is there's just things I know now that, like, I could not have ever known 20 years ago. Yeah. Like, there's just not enough experience to teach you that, And so it feels good to be in that situation where you got a little bit of experience and wisdom, not only for yourself, but with the younger folks that are in our community or on our teams that we can impact. Like, they don't, Alex O'Quinn doesn't have to learn the hard lessons that other people have learned, because we can keep them away from that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2026 declaration. We usually walk in. I know we're going to do it. We get to do it this year with the retreat. Is that one word going into the year that kind of is that declaration of, kind of, this is how I'm going to grow. This is how I see my growth. Do you want to let yours out of the bag or
I've got a few that I'm
got a few.
Around. Yeah. I've got a few.
Anything you want to share with
sure,
our community?
I'll share what I'm kicking around. One word that's simple is growth. Like, it is going to be a year of growth. Mm-hmm. The second one that led me, to 2 words that come from growth is no mercy.
All right.
Mercy.
Yeah, what was the other one you shared with me?
The third one is no drama.
Yeah,
it's no drama. Like, we're not going to have any drama. Those things happen in business naturally, and I think everybody can relate to that statement. You're always going to have some things that happen in a year that distract people. They get caught up in a moment, something goes on too long, whatever it is, and it creates drama. And I believe that, people that have that lurking around them, it's just a major distraction. And so, whenever we have drama, my plan is to not delay and to eliminate that drama at every chance we get.
Good stuff. And I would just, challenge all of you guys to have like a standard for next year. Walk in intentional to that new year about, hey, this is what we're going to do. Maybe get your people around that too. It always is helpful. But at the end of everyone, Brian, we always do these rapid fire questions. So I actually have a bunch for you. So we'll see how many we can get through here.
Let's do it.
All right. One belief contractors must let go of before 2026.
They don't have enough time.
All right. One mind shift that creates the biggest ROI.
Discipline.
One uncomfortable conversation every leader should prepare for.
Whatever needs to be talked about today.
One challenge you believe most contractors are avoiding.
Conversations with your people that are uncomfortable.
One habit that must die in 2025 to win in 2026.
Not being disciplined enough.
One skill every owner must sharpen next year.
Your leadership.
One way leaders should protect their energy in 2026.
Say no to things that don't serve you or your team or your vision.
One decision contractors should make earlier than they feel ready for.
Hire salespeople.
One question leaders should ask themselves every quarter in 2026.
Where are the numbers? Stop being emotional and look at what really matters.
All right. And then the last one, just to round us out here. In 2026, the contractors who win will be the ones who
have no mercy and are aggressive every single day of the year and are dialing in what is the activity, teaching their people, being committed to growth relentlessly.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming in. We know you're busy. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's not always that we get to sit down and talk with this man. He's got a lot on his plate, and I do appreciate it. And on behalf of all the contractors from our group, the Inner Circle, the Elite, man, I can't thank you enough for all that you do, setting this vision. Guys, get ready for 2026. I cannot wait to see what this is going to unload on us.
It's going to be a blanking banger.
Yeah, and I think it will affect our whole community.
Yes.
It'll affect our whole community. So, all right, guys, that's a wrap for today. We will see you again in 2026. But until next time, keep leading, keep growing, keep winning. See you next time.